Hey, what is up, everybody? This is Noah with Unscripted Commentary, and I thought we would just jump into it. We have a question here from Jacob. How do you look at porn addiction? Is it any different from other types of addictions? I thought we would start with the second question, because I think it kind of will open the door to the first question. How is it different? So in my head, I separate just because I think it just from the outside it looks different. The physical addictions, addiction to things, and addiction to ideas and perceptions, but then also just like interaction with media. So I think of one end, I think of like food or drugs or nicotine and alcohol, even sugar, right? Like you're consuming something and it's having a physical effect on you, and there are side effects, and it's usually really obvious, right? If you're injecting yourself with something, it's very clear that something is amiss. Something's wrong to a certain extent. On the other end, interaction with your phone or the internet, I think it has a much more subtle influence. And especially when you get into addiction and you're overusing the internet specifically, the influence is subtle, and it'll build over time. And it's only after a while do you start to notice the changing effects it has on you. In a similar way, that's kind of how I see pornography addiction as well. It has a kind of subtle change, In my life, for a long time, ever since, for the last 10 years, I've been struggling with pornography addiction. And some seasons it's easier, and some seasons it sucks. And it's hard to get out of entirely. So I'm just being honest and vulnerable here. Like that's something I've struggled with most of my life. And I've noticed things, right? I've noticed that when I'm in the midst of it, when I'm in the darkest moments, there are just certain things that, aren't going well. They don't go well. For one, my ability to communicate with others and talk to others is horribly hampered. I will have a hard time, like, making eye contact with people. But there's a big shame that's in the midst of that, but then also there is a certain like dehumanizing element that my perception of people at all is severely hampered. That I have a harder time, loving people, if that makes sense. And so these are the kind of things where it's like, at first you might not notice it, but then after a while it'll grow and get worse. And so first of all, my advice is if you are not currently within, stay away. My first point is stay away as far as you can from this. Keep away. If you haven't already touched it, make sure you do not, it's not worth your time. There are beautiful things in the world. Don't get close to this. If you do find yourself here, do whatever you can to get out. And so I've kind of have a few things, like these are the things that I've heard work for people, and a lot of them I haven't done because I didn't think they would work for me, but with time comes desperation, and so these are some things that I've also been starting to incorporate into my life, and so I'm happy to share. For one, your phone, a lot of things have parental controls, and you can set those kind of dynamically. And for my phone, there's one that will basically block everything, explicitly sexual in nature, and so you can get someone else to set the password for that. And if you ever need them to change something on your phone in that regard, you can hand it to them and have them change it. And so that requires some sort of accountability. You're going to have a group of people, preferably people you trust and who are also interested in changing this behavior, both either in themselves or in you. That sounds kind of weird, but and having that group accountability about this is what we're trying to get rid of. There are also other applications. You can look them up. They're usually called porn blockers of some sort. Covenant Eyes is one I constantly hear about. I don't know much about it, so if that one's not good, try to find a good one. And then there's other things like getting enough sleep, like making sure you don't put yourself into those situations, staying busy, working out. These are all things that I've heard help, and I've found when I do participate in those things, it does keep me away from these sorts of addictions, both phone and electronic addiction, but then also pornography addiction overall. And I think we kind of get here to, how do I see it? I see this addiction as it's particularly worrying, we'll say, for a lot of reasons. For the effect it has on people, especially long term. I've seen horrible things both in myself but then in others. That seems to actually go away, when you step away from it. But in the midst of it, it gets pretty nasty. I also see that culturally, this is a pretty acceptable addiction, which I find to be incredibly problematic and worrying. Back in the 90s, there's an episode of Friends that is pretty notorious for this, how would I say, normalization of the use of pornography. And it's only gotten worse from there. That there's just this expectation that everybody is engaging in this and it's a normal activity. And that's incredibly problematic to me. I think it is generally. That it does have this effect, whether you like it or not. It's going to, cause you to see other people in a different way. And it's easy to get sucked into. But even if you don't get sucked into it, it's still going to have the effect nonetheless. It's going to be harmful to both you and your relationships. Those are most of my thoughts on it. If anybody else wants to share anything, feel free to put it in the comments. But yeah, my recommendation is just, stay away. Do whatever you can to get out. Don't replace it with something worse. But, if that means that you play more video games or something to stay away, I doubt that's usually how it would be. But, make sure that if you're trading one addiction for another, that the cure is not worse than the disease. I think it would be preferable, to spend your time playing video games than to do this, if that is a reasonable exchange ever. But often what that's going to mean is maybe reading a book, working out, being engaged in more social settings, stepping away from your devices, your computers. And, you're on YouTube right now. Chances are, using that less. But, you can be the judge of that for yourself. Because, you know your habits, or should know your habits better than anyone else. So take some time to take stock of yourself. And, yeah. I hope you all have an amazing day. And, again, leave a comment on what you think about this. If you totally disagree, I'd be happy to hear it. And if you have any questions, leave them in the form in the description. And I will probably read them and respond to them in a video. So if you want to see one of those, feel free to do that. Otherwise, hope you all have an amazing day, and I'll see you all later.